Alright, let me confirm this is streaming before I get rolling. Alright, we are live. Let me tweet this out for anybody who wants to join. All right, welcome for all those who are deciding to watch again and wanting to come back. My name is Matt Zollman. Trying to get comfortable with streaming, live streaming artwork, and extending out my comic creating path moving forward to trying to hone my craft. What I'm working on right now is we have an upcoming Kickstarter for Epic number 4. It's our indie teenage superhero comic book called Epic, created with Tyler James of Kickstarter Mastermind fame and all things Kickstarter guru. If you're interested in anything Kickstarter, go check them out. Great podcast, great YouTube channel, great source of information. But yeah, continuing on with our comic, and what we're seeing right now is this is an alternative cover, and the idea is that this is going to be a lenticular cover. If you don't know what a lenticular cover is, back in the old day, you had the hologram covers where you'd look at it one way, you'd see an image, look at another one, you see a different image. So one of the stretch goals that we're talking about doing is potentially doing a lenticular cover for our comic book, and one of the stretch goals for our Kickstarter campaign. So I started concepting this idea that Tyler had this great idea of saying, give me one side of them in their high school, in their just normal civilian life, and then when you look at it another way, our heroes and villains are bombastic in in their superhero poses. So, in my previous video, I was continuing to ink on that. And I'll show you what, let's see here. Let's turn this one off, turn that one on. Let's crank it up. So this is where I ended up with that cover. Looking pretty good. Some stuff I still have to finish out, incorrect logo in there, stuff like that. But as you can see, we got our teenage superhero in the middle here. Eric Andor, also known as Epic, amongst all the both heroes and villains throughout the book. Again, this is it's kind of an Invincible type book. A lot of zaniness, superheroes off the wall. Just some that's super fun to create, draw. The way Tyler writes to these guys and the way I like to draw action and energy really lends well to these types of characters. So you can see they're all over the place, anywhere from Scarewolf, our werewolf guy here, to Rhinor, our rhino guy. We've got Roid Rage, who's our Hulk type character. A lot of typical archetypes, but different spins on them. Some are goofy, some are cool. And then framing it up here, we got Daddy Longlegs up top, Maestro in the corner here, Thunder God, which is my version of Thor. I talked about that last time. And then Thrillicity, our kind of Static Shock type character, or electricity-based hero. Who else? Mecha Duck, who is an environmentalist with technology to take things to another level. Can't remember if I mentioned, Scarewolf. We've got Shock and Awe over here in the corner. So these two characters, this gentleman with his electric-powered poodle. And then we got Callie Girl in the middle, one of our heroes. Sinstress in the middle. She's one of our main bad girls. Next to her is a boombox. He's kind of like if Banshee was a beatboxer. And then finally, Dr. Genetto, who creates mad scientist genetic experiments by combining different animals to just for his own entertainment. So this is the one side of the lenticular cover. So it's kind of fun. We're going to get it colored up. Hired someone to get the thing colored up, and then go from there. Had a really good time trying to figure out composition in this. It was interesting. I originally had Daddy Longlegs down here where Scarewolf was. I don't know if I can show that. Let's see here. If the rough is still... Yeah, so this was the original composition. We had Daddy Longlegs right here, and then Tyler wanted Scarewolf added. So one of the challenges was to where would I put him. So I decided to put him in that place, and then moving Daddy Longlegs into a more prominent spot on the cover because he will definitely catch your eye. Very unique looking character. Had fun with trying to figure out composition, move characters around, trying to get something that's interesting. Again, this is my love letter to Arthur Adams, one of my top all-time comic book inspiration in the way he does X-Men covers with kind of a montage of the characters. So this was kind of fun to figure that out. All right, so with that being said, one of the things then the other side is the lenticular cover of the other side of this is them just in their kind of pedestrian civilian type, outfit. So with that being said, I'm trying to figure out the correct composition to get from this, this to this with trying to make it look natural. And what's tough about that is when I turn this on, it's a stacked composition, and technically the perspective's not right. I mean, even when you look at Art Adams' work, like, these guys are stacked in, going backwards, around a horizon line, meaning there is a perspective going this way. So technically, you should be seeing more of the tops of the of the characters, and you clearly don't. They're all just stacked up horizontally. Or perpendicular to the viewer, just stacked up in the back. Which, when you have a layout like this in action and these movements where he's screaming and flexing and he's jumping and like it doesn't look totally off-putting. Again, like one of my other two favorite inspirations, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld from Image, was energy, and even if it doesn't look right, anatomy-wise, both those guys have always been accused with rough anatomy, but I didn't care as a kid. I loved looking at their artwork on the page. But if it looks cool, go with it. And, so there's a lot of the stuff, perspective-wise isn't totally correct, but I don't know, I still liked it. So in this next one, that perspective issue of stacking these individuals is a little bit more prominent because they're just kind of standing around, and I'm trying to make interesting things happen to them, interesting things about them, so that you can see their alter egos on the other side. That makes them interesting to see and watch and look and find interesting. Also, just the right proportions of the perspective. Some of these guys are much bigger, much smaller, and what does that look like? So again, trying to figure it out. And also, some of these guys like Scarewolf, I have no idea what he looks like. What is he? Who is that character? We haven't figured out who that character looks like. So I'm going to rough out some ideas for Tyler to kind of review, spitball, see if he likes, see what he doesn't like, and then see how that works. But I'm just going to continue on with rolling through this and just stream for half hour, 45 minutes, and then and if anybody jumps on, has any questions or whatever, just hit me up. I'll try to pay attention to that type of stuff. But I'm just going to talk through this as I go about. So right now, this is literally just the rough. So I've got a blue line with a pencil. I'm using Clip Studio Paint. I'm on a Huion 24 4K monitor. Like I said, it's been pretty good alternative to Wacom, who's always the tried and true industry standard with their product. But this has been a very cost-effective alternative at a very high quality so far. I've really been enjoying it. So, all right. So with that said, our character let's see if I can get this here, get a thing to point out, right? So our character here, this is Eric. He's going to be holding on to a skull bag, just kind of looking a little bit more kid next door, just a little bit sheepish, a little bit, just hey, I'm just chilling. Shannon Swift, who's Cali Girl, will be on the other side. She's going to have a little bit more attitude. Our bad girl, Sinstress, she's on the other side here, and she's a cheerleader at the school. So I'm thinking about maybe having her, if you look at our lines here, maybe having her, give her a look of, what's up, and see what that looks like. And then our guy, Roid Rage, again, I'd have to get better at what their civilian names are, but he's a star football player, so he's also brash and a little bit cocky. So I thought about maybe having him stand on his football helmet, maybe throwing a football, looking all jockish and smug, trying to figure that out. Got Dr. Janetto over here, who's going to be in his regular standard lab coat, and then holding on to maybe a bird cage, and then maybe a salamander or a lizard in another container, to show that when he's on the other side, those two things combined are the things around his neck. Shock and awe, never experimented with what these guys look like, outside of that. So figured he's a guy that loves his dog, so he's going to be holding his dog. Who else? We've got Boombox over here. Obviously, if you can't tell, I have a love for 80s, 90s rap, growing up in that. And so Boombox is, kind of my love letter to LL Cool J, with the Kango and the jumpsuit and the gloves. And so I thought it'd be cool, or at least to me it was cool, is his Walking Like a Panther cover, where he's all crouched down, looking all suave. I figured I could put a larger boombox next to him, stuff like that. And that also opens up the composition a little bit for Rhinor's character. Again, no idea what he looks like as, outside of his supervillain attire. So I'm thinking construction worker, maybe a meathead construction worker, and see what that looks like. Thunder God is Thunder God, so I don't know if I never really thought about if he's got some sort of civilian persona. So I might be the joke might be is that he's still just going to be Thunder God in the background, no different. Daddy Longlegs playing with a spider, so that's what was his name, Dr. Webb, right? So Mr. Webb, I can't remember what his first name was, but have him kind of, again, this is the connection of what is interesting in this composition that makes you go, oh, that's who that character is. Thrillicity is going to be back here just kind of with a little bit of an attitude, just chilling. Scarewolf over here, I don't know, I thought maybe he's a homeless dude that he fights crime. I don't know. I don't know what that guy's going to look like, but I'm going to mess around with that a little bit and see what Tyler thinks about it. Maestro is Maestro. He is literally a mind-controlling conductor. And so he conducts the symphony during the day and conducts crime at night. Yes, I know it sounds silly, but yeah, he's going to be pretty much the same as what he was as far as his makeup's concerned. His outfit and his stuff like that is what he was previously. So again, trying to, what's interesting about this is this composition in its entirety could only take up half the page, half the lower half side of the page. And I don't know if that's a kind of a neat juxtaposition of this, which is, has some interesting character traits in here, but you go from this to this, and now you got bam, right? You got a lot of energy, you got a lot of excitement, you got a lot of motion. So I kind of like the idea that this is literally just people chilling and, trying to go about awkwardly standing next to each other for no reason at all other than I want them to. And then on the other side of it is, action-oriented type stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Got to figure this out. And again, trying to move through what is the appropriate perspective as people are stacked in, the cameras here. So trying to get, feet alignment in here and make sure feet are, moving up in the spot. If you look at Mr. Webb back here, that means his feet are, right about here. Is that enough? Do I need to move? Do I need to stack this a little bit harder? A little bit longer, I should say, or taller, so that they're the kind of the cast of characters ends up right here. I have no idea, but I'm gonna kind of mess around with it and see where this goes. So yeah, right now this is all single layer, and I do stuff really quick. So coming back to this guy, Let me turn this guy off. Let me turn the ink layer off, right? We talked about the roughs. Super quick, super trying to just get energy and movement and direction. And then I go to pencils. Let me throw that one up. Right, so now I go to try to more detailed pencils so that I can make less decision making in the ink process. So turn that off, turn the inks back on, and that's the final outcome where I work line weights, sculpting the lines, and then more rendering in detail, like these little pock marks on him, the little cross hatching on the steel, the different types of leather and stuff like that. What I want to use spot blacks with. So that's kind of my process. So now coming back to this guy, let's get going on him. All right. So let's see. And I want to try to make progress in some of these things, right? So we know, what am I going to do with this guy, right? So again, this is just fast, loose. He's a construction worker. Is he holding on to maybe a shovel? And this kind of emulates his position on the other, with his hand here, with his arm holding up and his fist out. It resembles some of this motion here, where he's at right there. So again, you guys can't see that, but and now the power of digital, I like to literally just, if I can not erase and redraw, that helps. Here, put a hard hat on him a little bit. I have to look up references on a better hard hat because I'm not just showing that he's got something on. Clean that up a little bit. And get her leg in here. This is the position we were talking about here, where technically she's behind. Mitch is his name. Do I want to move all these guys up a little bit? I think I'm going to try to do that. And again, there's not some monster science behind it because it's just a rough. So you think like his foot and helmet's going to be here. Her foot would be placed back here. Maybe have it peeking out over here just for making it obvious. Throw it right there. And that's what's tough is, what I don't like about this is the tangent that it makes right here with Mitch's leg going here to here, and then what is her name? Gosh, it's driving me nuts. Anyway, Sinstress legs going right behind it. It makes a weird tangent of whose leg is who. So again, might have to address that. But I don't want to cover up. This is the challenge, right? So with Mitch's arm being out here, holding a football here, which I may even want to accentuate that a little bit more as well. it's going to cover her up. If I want to have his arm coming out more out here, right, to really get his arm in here, I'm going to have to go with a light eraser and kind of redraw some of the stuff just to get it going here. Yeah, is that okay that, like, the more I bring her, if I want to bring her left or right to remove this leg situation, I'm almost actually going to have to bring her this way, because if I bring her to the opposite way, then her face gets covered up by his arm. Or I kill his whole arm and I do something different with that, right? I mean, there could be like an arms crossed, tough guy thing. But I don't know. I don't want him to be totally static. I like attitude. You know, to me, there's one of the best advice that you have is that there's got to be a story in everything you draw. I really get frustrated when I see artists who just, you know, here's a character, he's doing his thing, very static, very like, oh, I'm angry, or I'm like, I like it when there's some storytelling, even in just the most static of images, right? So how do you portray attitude in some of these people, right? With Mitch, I want him kind of looking up, you know, so he's got a little bit of like a smug jerk, jock type mentality, which is a great, again, juxtaposition of Eric, who's our hero, and what he is all about, right? So it's that classic, you know, Peter Parker, Flash Thompson type engagement, type relationship. So how do you portray that with just some simple emotion of hierarchy? And yeah, I'm just bouncing all over the place. No rhyme or reason. Make that a little bit larger so I can make these just big swaths of just lightening this up, so I can kind of get my. I like this flow, this curve in my legs. So that's fun. Obviously, I got to put clothes and stuff like on them, and what that may look like with whether he's wearing sweatpants, whether he's wearing jeans, whether he's wearing shorts. I don't know. Figure that out here as we go along. Give him a little bit more rump. Again, just hitting with this. I got a soft eraser, so I just kind of smacked it a little bit just to get rid of some of these lines, just to kind of clean it up a little bit for see where I'm going. Now that I have that kind of underneath structure, obviously it makes it easier to kind of figure out what's happening overall. But again, it's also a good idea to kind of clean it up a little bit so I understand where things are specifically happening. backpack. Handle on top, where it's going. Can I see it over the bottom? Let's kill that out a little bit. If I want my backpack to kind of stick out behind him. Have to figure that out. A little bit wider of a head. And I don't want to make him too thin. One of the challenges of drawing teenagers or any type of youth is that Tyler's did a good job with keeping me in check in like jaw lines and different types of rendering to, like, you know, the adage is that if you add more detail or lines, then it obviously it aged them. So Tyler's done a good job to keep me in check with some of that stuff. So I'm always thinking like, how do I want to, and also just character concepts, character structure, right? Like shape of the jaw, size of the nose, shape of the nose, like getting that consistent panel to panel, artwork to artwork. The way I draw Epic in the inside the book is slightly different than the way I'm drawing them now because I'm evolving my abilities, right? I'm getting better as an artist. Better as an artist to draw at just drawing, period. So it's kind of a challenge to like, he looks slightly different, and I think he looks better because I think I'm better. And you know, hey, that's just I'll take that. You know, it's the shows that I'm improving. I think it shows that I'm improving, that that I'm getting better at my craft, and something I want to keep continuing to get better at. All right, it's getting there. It's getting there. Let's see here. I know I've got. So I've got the previous issues. We're doing issue number 4 with this. I got the previous issues that artist Fico Ossio moved with Tyler on these, and so I like to reference back to the just some of the material that he has on some of the characters. So again, trying to understand how. Let's see. All right. You know, how does he, if you can see this, let's see if I can get this to work right. So Shannon Sharp, Eric in you know, school settings, what kind of clothes they're wearing, stuff like that. So as I draw them in there, you know, in their clothes here, like, is there some consistency with that? Because as artists, you tend to like, I want to do this is my style to do these types of things. And yeah, I certainly do that with some of those, you know, outfits or the clothing or the hairstyles and things like that. But at the same time, I'm trying to get better at consistency. So case in point, she's got a particular hairstyle and stuff like that in here that I find interesting. So I might see if I can try to emulate that a little bit. And I might shoot this rough over to Tyler to see like, how's this vibing for you? and what does it look like for these types of characters. All right, let's work on Shannon here a little bit. Again, taking the eraser and just kind of knocking it down a little bit. You know, I got a quick structure in there, but, you know, what is that? Now let's kind of really start formulating this, or fleshing this out. Get a little tighter in on this so I can work some of the details out, because she's got her hair pulled back in some of this, and then she's got these unique braids out to the side. And it kind of feels kind of, I don't know, bohemian or something. They're not dreads, they're not cornrows, they're not, I don't know. It's got a unique hairstyle to it, and I'm just trying to think, is there something interesting there to kind of separate her from just being just a normal looking teenager. Again, giving her a little bit of attitude in the hip, the waist and hip area. One of the things I still struggle with is female form. How far do you accentuate? How far do you push some of the lines to give the character some character without being too, like, I don't know, without being too I don't know, without pushing an enemy too far incorrectly, or just, I don't know, creating false characteristics about the character that the writer wants to do with the character. All right, and I don't know if I just want to put backpack on her. And I may even want to separate her out a little bit and push her back. But that means, do I have to grab everyone and do it? Yes. The answer is yes. Grabbing all these guys. And then I want to rotate her out a little bit. So she's tilting back a little bit. All right, and again, the advantage of being a digital artist is you can kind of push and pull things around to what you think looks a bit more appropriate. Like, I thought her head was a little bit too big there, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right, so well, first of all, let's get his backpack in there. That could could be funny is that, so hands on the hips, a little bit of attitude. That Shannon displays. But then when you go to the hero, if she's going to give Sasha some stink eye, maybe there's some interesting things there with, because Shannon's going to have her hands on her hips when she's in her villain form. So it's kind of funny. Alright, so that's getting some. Get these guys back in here. Clean up some of the. When you lasso stuff and start moving things around, when stuff's so chaotic, it looks a little bit unfinished. So I like to come back through and clean stuff up a little bit more. Let's see if that's where her right hand will end up. I don't know. We'll see. She's got some leggings on. Ankle high leggings, that way I can put some shoes on her. Actually, I might want to change that up a little bit. Alright, so that's, again, getting somewhere. Let's keep going over here to the right. And again, I might pull these guys out a little bit just so there's some visibility of what's going on. Right, so we talked about Dr. Janetto, who is a mad scientist, who is grabbing, let's grab both these guys. Grabbing various animals and doing experiments on them and doing genetic experiments and combining them. So yeah, I want to have him in his looking up a little bit. He's checking out our bird in the cage. So a lot of this time I'm just, putting in some structure like the collarbones, not bones, but necessarily like, kind of the body area of the body in there, shoulder, bring down his arms, his chest coming in this way. Again, it's not necessarily that I'm going to make him a muscular looking person, but it's good for rough sake. to just understand total body form, right? So in this case, you can see how close I got the bird cage, right? So if his hand is right here, holding onto our cage. Again, I'm just going to draw him over. Forearm's going to come here. Arm is coming out here. Clean that up a little bit to and we'll he's going to be wearing a lab coat, which is different than his villain lab coat or his super lab coat. The interesting thing about Gennetto, he's got these gauntlets that he wears, and they're all different types, different looks. He's got a whole suite of them, and that gives him kind of his superpowers, if you will. Got to figure that out a little bit more. Let's see, the lab coat's going to come down. Let's knock this back a little bit more and get that formed out. Talked about bird up top, some sort of and the whole reason why I want to do this is it's obvious that he's holding two animals in his hands, and so that when you see the other side of this and those two animals, those are the two animals that make up the combination. So again, just really telegraphing that. Hardcore. Glass case. Extend that out a little bit further. Again, he's going to be a professional scientist, so he's wearing a collared shirt. Some khakis underneath or something. Maybe he's got his identification badge on. Lapels the coat. Might find that out a little bit further. Coloring in the back there. So there's coat. Don't need that. Weird tangent where the cage lines up right with where the coat is. Gonna have to fix that. I inadvertently do that shit all the time. It drives me nuts. It's not intentional. It just happens to be that way. And the question is, do I have enough fortitude to address it? All right. The other thing I'm trying to do is not overdraw clothing. One of the more I study clothing, the more it's not that complicated of how many folds and how many. It's usually just straight down, a few crease lines, and that's about it. You don't have to put a lot of structure and form into it. Alright, I think that's working just fine. Let's come back over to my man Mitch and what that looks like. Alright, so I'm gonna work on him. I think it's gonna wrap for tonight as far as the stream's concerned. I'll keep picking at this. Join you guys, you guys can catch up with me later this week where I'll do it again, but I'm not going to keep going on this when there's a lot of decisions I'm still trying to make on it, but again, trying to give him a little attitude. One eyebrow raised, one eyebrow down. Work through that a little bit more. Nose up. Stupid smirk on his face. Again, his head's way too big. So we grab and reduce. Helps you do sound effects when you do it. I don't know, it's getting there. The proportions are off. Like those legs are teeny compared to his upper body. I have to think about what I want to adjust. Is it his lower body or is it his upper body? Working on his helmet down here. I have to look up a reference for a helmet. Make sure I get those proportions right. It's been a long time since I've looked at a football helmet in any detail. A little bit larger. Yeah, it's getting there. And I think I want to rotate this guy out a little bit more. And again, that makes an interesting little area in here with Eric's legs. So again, do I want to move him up and back? I just may want to. All right. We'll go 4 more minutes. And then the question is what's going on with his other side? He's in his football pads. Number 55, he's a linebacker. If I remember right. Again, just trying to give some energy and stubbing out his hand. Do this. I don't think it's a thing kids do. Let's pull that back. Could be enough. Again, I think there's some proportion issues with this between the length of his legs and his upper body, so gonna need to adjust that a little bit further. That already feels a little bit better, even just by that small change. I have a tendency to want to keep making it smaller and smaller and smaller, but All right, and that gives a little bit more breathing room right here with what we're doing. That's what I was concerned about with Sinstress and her head and her fitting in here. Still have to figure out the leg thing though. All right, cool. I'm going to wrap it up as far as the stream's concerned for this, and I'll be hitting this up. I'm going to get this rough finished up, sent over to Tyler for a review, see what his thoughts are, and then go another bout and maybe start working on some penciling next time I see you. So check it out. If you would, follow me, like, subscribe, and all that stuff to see what I'm doing here. I'm going to try to explain all my process and my thinking through how I create art and what the concern is, just so maybe it helps you think through, how you would potentially create art on your side. If you're interested in comic book art or drawing or art creation, hit me up. Love to talk about it. And not only do you learn more, I'll learn more out of the whole process, and really looking forward to next time. So appreciate it. Have a good day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.